On May 14th, 2022, the streets erupted into chaos. In a brutal confrontation that shocked authorities and the public alike, two of America's most notorious biker gangs, the Hells Angels and the Pagans, clashed violently in broad daylight. What started as a street brawl was only the tip of the iceberg, a flashpoint in an underground war that had been simmering for years. What caused this conflict? Who fired the first shot? And what was really at stake? This is the story of a relentless power struggle, a war without borders, limits, or mercy. On that fateful day in 2022, more than 30 bikers from both sides engaged in a vicious street fight. Weapons were drawn, bones were broken, and blood was spilled. What appeared to be a sudden, isolated clash was, in fact, a minor battle in a much larger war, a war for dominance waged in the shadows and fueled by betrayal, territory, and revenge. Both the Hells Angels and the Pagans suffered serious injuries in that fight, but neither side was willing to retreat. This wasn't just a turf dispute, it was a full-scale biker war. To understand this war, we first need to understand the players. The Pagans Motorcycle Club was founded in 1959 in Prince George's County, Maryland, by a small brotherhood of 13 men. What began as a tight-knit group of motorcycle enthusiasts quickly transformed into a major force in the outlaw biker world. By the late 1970s, the Pagans had grown into one of the most powerful outlaw motorcycle clubs in the northeastern United States. Their rise was backed by dangerous alliances with street gangs like the Bloods, organized crime outfits like the Philadelphia Mob, and the Latin Kings. But power came with a price. In the early 2000s, a series of law enforcement crackdowns led to the arrest and imprisonment of over 70 high-ranking Pagans, including their national president. Their grip on the region loosened, and the vultures began to circle. The Hells Angels Motorcycle Club, known by nicknames like HA and Red and White, is perhaps the most infamous outlaw motorcycle club in the world. Founded in 1948, though sources differ on the exact origin, the club quickly became synonymous with rebellion, violence, and absolute loyalty. The Angels typically ride Harley-Davidsons and are known for their strict codes and global reach. With over 6,000 members and 467 chapters, in 59 countries, they are the largest outlaw motorcycle club in existence. Their expansion into weakened pagan territory was inevitable and hostile. In 2002, a key betrayal escalated tensions to a new level. Thomas Woodman, a high-ranking pagan, was approached by the Hells Angels and offered a chance to switch sides. Despite the pagan motto, "Pagans forever, forever pagans," Woodman accepted and brought several other members with him into the Angels' newly formed West Philadelphia chapter. This act of defection was seen as treason, and it would not go unanswered. On February 23, 2022, the Hells Angels held their first annual Hellraiser Ball in Plainview, New York. Designed as a high-profile event with red carpets, tattoo contests, and celebrity appearances, the gathering attracted more than 1,000 guests. But by late afternoon, 10 vans pulled up to the venue. Inside were over 70 armed pagans, ready to retaliate. Gunfire erupted. 5 pagans were shot, 1 was killed. The police quickly moved in, arresting 73 individuals. 66 would later be convicted of federal racketeering charges. This ambush sent a loud message to the Angels. The Pagans were not backing down. Shortly after the Hellraiser incident, vengeance was exacted. In the early morning hours of January 14, 2005, Thomas Woodman was driving his GMC pickup along the Schuylkill Expressway in Philadelphia when unknown assailants opened fire. He was fatally shot. Though the case remains officially unsolved, authorities strongly suspect the Pagans orchestrated the hit. Wood's death became a rallying cry, deepening the feud and drawing the battle lines even clearer. Over the following years, the Pagans quietly rebuilt. Realizing they needed strength in numbers, they launched a bold recruitment drive, relaxing racial restrictions and welcoming large numbers of Hispanic street gang members into their ranks. Their growth was explosive. At one point, the Pagans considered expanding into Quebec, a stronghold of the Hells Angels, but they backed down, fearing the brutal reputation of Canadian bikers. Andrew Glick, a former pagan-turned-government informant, remarked, "Being a one-percenter in Canada is far more dangerous than in the U.S. The Montreal scene is next level." In 2015, ROR, his real name remains sealed in court documents, became the national president of the Pagans. After serving a 14-year prison sentence for conspiracy to commit murder, he emerged determined to re-establish the Pagans' dominance. He launched the Blue Wave Initiative, a massive campaign to reclaim the northeastern U.S. by force and numbers. But ROR knew one thing: the Hells Angels would never go down without a fight. By 2018, any meeting between Angels and Pagans risked violence. On April 24, 2018, Jeffrey Shank, an associate of the Hells Angels, left their Newark clubhouse to get gas. 3 men suddenly appeared from a parked truck, armed with baseball bats. They beat Shank viciously, breaking his ribs and collapsing his lung. The message was clear: no one was safe. In May 2020, the Hells Angels opened a new clubhouse in the Bronx, a bold move into long-standing pagan territory. Just weeks after it opened, a convoy of masked bikers launched a coordinated attack. Automatic weapons were fired into the building. Miraculously, no one inside was injured. Soon after, on a quiet evening outside his Bronx apartment, Francisco Rosado, president of the Pagans Bronx chapter, was shot dead. 2 masked men exited a Jeep Grand Cherokee and executed him in broad daylight. He was struck in the head and chest. His murder remains a turning point, the beginning of a full-scale street war. Since 2022, the violence between the Hells Angels and the Pagans has only intensified. What started with club rivalries has escalated into a sustained, coordinated conflict, involving shootings, bombings, beatings, and assassinations across the East Coast. The police are trying to keep up. Arrests are made, but new members take the place of the fallen. Each death is answered by another. The war between the Hells Angels and the Pagans is far from over. The streets they fight on are ours. The cities they claim are not just backdrops for their feud, but battlegrounds where innocent lives risk being caught in the crossfire. So, who's winning? In truth, no one. Because when power is the prize, and pride is on the line, there are no victors, only survivors.